Warning: viewers' discretion is advised as this may contain mature or triggering content. Title: Unexpected Fates, Part 6. 2 days ago, Retina paced back and forth, mulling over the news she'd gotten from some of her souls. She'd specifically asked the ones that had flooded in a couple of times. But every single one she asked said the same thing: darkness. It had consumed them. Even when she dove into their memories, there was nothing but shadows and a haunting pair of red eyes. She bit her lip. Perhaps there had been truth to Ceres's words after all. She had been deep within the souls of her collection, going through them one by one, finding the same thing for about 1,000 of them. They had died in the same manner. Now that she was out, she felt exhausted. Still, though, she had to tell Ceres and Ervo. If there was something wrong on their planet, they needed to get rid of it right away. A part of her felt bad for being so harsh on Ceres. She headed for his room first, only to find it empty. "Ceres?" She called to him, roaming their home, but finding no sign of him. "Ceres?" She wanted to talk to Ceres first, but where was he? Ervo came into the room where their orb was. "If you're looking for Ceres, I haven't seen him since he talked about the evil threat." Retina's hands flew to her hips as she glared at Ervo. "And that didn't bring out an ounce of concern for you?" His eyes narrowed. "Of course I was concerned, but you know how he can get. It wouldn't be the first time he vanished into the world he created for a day or so." "That was before we had a problem." Her red eyes glared at him. "What do you mean?" Ervo asked as he watched her. "I'm saying that Ceres was probably right. There are so many souls that aren't complete. They can't show me how they died. All I'm met with are shadows and a pair of red eyes. And I swear, if you tell me I'm not doing my job correctly." Ervo held up his hands. "Whoa there, Bree. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to doubt you. It's just..." Ervo groaned. "I didn't want to think there was some force within our world trying to ruin it. Not when everything has been going so well. I didn't want to have to deal with Myrna. I'm sorry for lashing out at you." Retina sighed, her anger dying down. "I'm sorry too. We both owe Ceres an apology, as well." Ervo nodded. "Let's give him until the end of today. If he doesn't return, we look for him." Retina nodded. "Okay." Present day. "Where is he?" Retina said, biting her lip as they stood in their world. He hadn't returned, and they'd been looking for him for a day. Ervo sighed. "I don't know. He would have felt us once we came, but I can't even feel him." Tears pricked her eyes. "We should have listened to him. What if that beast got him? I know he isn't dead, but what if he's hurt somewhere?" Ervo didn't want to think that this was real. They couldn't lose Ceres, and if they didn't find him, Ceres would die thinking he was still mad. "We will find him. Perhaps he was hurt more emotionally than we thought." Retina glared at him. "You can't seriously think that. Out of all of us, Ceres was never one to hold on to his anger." Ervo rolled his eyes. "He never really held on to any emotions." "Really? What is with you, Ervo?" Ervo groaned. "I don't know. Maybe I just don't want to think that there is a problem. Not after everything that happened with Estral. We've done so much for this world already, and if it falls apart..." Retina sighed, her expression softening. I know you are scared, and so am I, but if we don't pull ourselves together, we really could lose it all. Ervo nodded. Okay. I take back what I said a bit ago, about him not holding on to emotions. Feels like he's the balance for us. Rutina smiled softly. He was always the one to break up arguments and kept us calm when Garv died. Why didn't we believe him about the beast? Why? Why did we react so poorly? She shook her head. I don't know. I think we'll have to figure it out when we find him. It is funny how he can panic so much about certain things, but when it truly matters, he knows what to do. When it came to letting go of his world, I don't think I could have done that. Something is wrong with us, and the only thing I can think of is Myrna is behind it. A shiver ran down Bertina's spine. Do you think she's messing with our minds somehow? Ervo's eyes narrowed. It has to be. We've had small arguments before, but never anything as serious as this. I'd never have said words to hurt you, Bree. She nodded. I have to agree. We both snapped rather quickly. Do you think we should try to bring Nuwa into this? Now a deep frown etched into Ervo's face. Do you think she'd help us? I'm sure she already knows what's going down. If she wanted to help, she'd be here. Bitterness filled Retina. I know. So we are on our own. We do this together, and get Saris back. If Myrna is involved with all of this, then Saris will be kept alive. But she must have him held captive. A cave, that's it. Ervo smirked. I brought the map. He pulled out a device that opened up, showing a hologram-like map of the world. Show us all the livable caves, he commanded, and the map flattened, putting markers on each cave. There were about 47,000 caves people could live in. Others were either filled with water, far too deep, or too small. That's so many, Britina groaned. It's a lot, but we've got this. We can at least teleport to them. We'll mask our presence, but if Myrna is in on this, she'll likely sense us. Britina nodded. Okay, let's start. She knew this was going to exhaust them, but it was all they had since they couldn't fill Saris. Cave after cave they teleported, hoping the next one would hold Saris, even if they instantly had to start fighting to get him free. But as hours flew by, their hopefulness diminished with it. How many does that make? Regina panted out, sweat beading her forehead. Ervo pulled the map up, his hands shaking. 24,000? Oh joy, only 16,000 more to go. Britina muttered before leaning against a tree, looking at the sky. She closed her eyes, reaching out to try and find or feel anything from Saris. Before, there had been nothing. But now, she felt it. A faint flicker. Her eyes snapped open. Ervo! What? I can feel him. It's super faint, but it's there. She turned, pressing her hand against the tree, following the strand of glimmering silver. It was like letting the wind guide her when there were no scents to follow, but knowing there was something at the end of the trail. It pointed her in the southwest direction, and her eyes opened. Show me all the caves southwest of here. Ervo nodded as the map shifted to follow her words. It narrowed them down to 5,000 caves, some of which they had already crossed off. We teleport to this one. It's in the center. If I can still feel him, we can follow it for a better direction. We'll be slower, but This should lead us to him quicker. At least it meant they wouldn't be hopping around randomly anymore. They teleported and she rested her hand against the tree. She could still feel Ceres, but it was like he was growing weaker, and that set panic aflare. If they were wrong about Myrna being involved, then Ceres wasn't as safe as they thought. Okay, more to the east now. Ervo nodded, watching as the map narrowed down once again. They teleported and she did the same, only this time she felt his presence much better than she did before. With each step they took, it felt like they were getting closer, because now Ervo was starting to feel Ceres' power. They went to teleport to the next cave, but didn't budge. Britina glanced at Ervo. What's going on? Ervo shook his head. I don't know. Something is blocking us. But that could very well mean that that's the cave we need. The two of them started walking for the cave. If they couldn't teleport, then it was time to walk. They didn't get very far before the very beast Ceres tried telling them about appeared.
Hello, lovebirds. I'm sorry, but this is as far as I can let you go. My master doesn't want anyone to disturb her and her lover.
The words sounded bitter as the beast spoke. Britina flinched from the thing. As someone with a connection to death, it was like having a small connection to darkness, and this creature oozed death and darkness. You're the beast that's been killing our humans. It chuckled.
Yes. I would have loved to play with them longer, but my master grew impatient while waiting to get her hands on Ceres.
Ervo stood in front of Britina, hoping to protect her from whatever that thing was. By your master, you mean Myrna, correct? It nodded, its red eyes watching them.
My master has given me the right to kill you. Though she wants me to end you quickly, I think, seems how she took away my fun of torturing Ceres, I'll toy with you guys. Do you know how boring it became on Estral when all of your creations gave up?
Ervo glared at the beast. So you were the one causing all the terror on Estral. The beast's white fangs flashed.
A portion of it.
Its tone proud. Anger consumed Ervo, and he lunged at the beast. Ervo, don't! But Britina's words were lost on his ears. A chuckle left the beast, and she rushed in to help Ervo. 2 gold and silver twin daggers appeared in her hands as her body teleported to block the beast's claws from sinking into Ervo. Bree! You aren't thinking clearly. You didn't even take out your weapon. She hissed as she shoved the creature back. It hissed, surprised at her strength. Ervo blinked a few times before nodding. Sorry, he muttered, surprised at his own mistake. A green shield began to form around them, blocking the beast from him and Britina. He thought it would work well, but black drool flew from the creature's mouth, splashing against the shield and making Ervo flinch. Burn marks slowly began to appear on his body. The beast chuckled.
Ceres found out the hard way. Your shields don't work against me. My powers burn through your powers. Isn't it simply the most perfect gift?
How is that even possible? Britina gasped, watching the beast's movements.
Well, when you take the darkest of emotions, hate, anger, greed, jealousy, even lust, and you twist it together, creating something such as myself, with the intention of destroying everything, you get the purest evil possible. My venom and powers were created with the sole purpose of destroying you. Pure unrelenting malice that eats away at you, those with hope, joy, love.
Britina trembled. We need to leave, her voice echoed in Ervo's mind. What? We can't defeat this thing. Not on our own. We need a plan, and one of us dying trying to get to Ceres isn't a good one. Ervo groaned. He didn't like this, but she was right. The beast glared at them.
What are you two planning? You know it's pointless now. My power trumps yours.
Britina turned her attention to the beast. We won't waste our lives trying to defeat something like you. It's clear to us your power can harm us. I'm not willing to risk it. The beast was clearly confused.
Wait, you aren't saying you're giving up. You can't run. I haven't even had my fun yet.
But as the beast launched itself at them, the two of them vanished, and it struck the ground with a growl.
Cowards!
Ervo and Britina landed roughly on the floor next to their orb, gasping. Ervo was the first to regain his composure. I hope you have a good idea. Britina sighed. The only thing I can think of at this moment is creating a beast of our own. Ervo groaned. Is that all? What if Myrna moves Ceres now that we've gotten so close? What about that? She smirked. I can find her wherever she might be in our world. Ervo felt shocked. What? You know how some spirits don't come to me, staying in the world after their deaths? Well, since so many have fallen by Myrna and her pet's schemes, they hold a bunch of negative soul energy around them. I hadn't noticed it until we got close to her minion. Not to mention, my main focus had been on Ceres the entire time. Great, so now all we have to do is create the perfect beast. No pressure. How did she even create something like that? She doesn't have powers like mine. She got help from my rival. Ervo and Britina almost screamed as Newell's voice came from behind them. They turned to look at her. I'm here to help. I was hoping not to get involved, but as this concerns my rival, I must. Your rival? Britina asked with a timid voice, almost afraid she'd anger Newell. Newell simply sighed. Yes, my children, there are others out there like me. We each have our own counterpart. They hold the other dimension of our powers, and they are not supposed to cross. However, Amorite has always hated the fact that life flourishes so much better underneath my command than hers. All of this was news to them as they stared at Newell almost blankly. Amorite's dimension is slowly dying, and thanks to that, my powers are growing stronger. She's using Myrna, one of my own creations, to do her bidding. She has twisted Myrna into something that shouldn't exist. If I do not regain the balance of our dimensions, everything could be lost. Ervo and Britina gasped. Then what do we need to do? Ervo asked, taking the news far better than Britina was. I have to replace Amorite, and I was thinking about using Ceres. I had left to find Ceres' counterpart in the other dimension. He had already agreed to this. Now I just have to ask Ceres. What about us? What about his planet? Britina asked in a soft, trembling voice. Newell closed the distance between them, resting a hand on her shoulder. Kaya would flourish far beyond anything you could imagine. I would have to assign you new partners to work with. Unless it's too much for you guys, and then there are other options. Such as? Ervo asked, his eyes glued to Newwall, waiting for some sort of positive ending to all of this. 1. You retire, even though it's so early within your lives. You live nurturing Kaya forever. 2. I take your memories of Ceres, replacing them with your new companions. And 3. You live with what's been done, and hope that Ceres remains somewhat normal, and at least remembers you. He can visit here and there, but it wouldn't be often. First, though, we have to save Ceres. Then we can discuss all of this. I will help you create the beast to take down that monster. It would become the guardian of Kaya. They took in the options and information, none of which sounded great. Ervo nodded. Let's get Ceres back then. But can I ask, why is Ceres the only option you are thinking about? Newall nodded. I chose him because out of all my creations, he is the only one that has not found love. Not to mention, after diving into his mind, I found that I wasn't the only one who created him. Both of his parts were created together by me and Amorite. They are missing parts of each other, and have the soul of one of our own. Her words only confused them more, but they didn't bother asking for better clarification. Instead, they started working with Newwall to create the perfect beast and make plans for Ceres' rescue. To be continued! I hope you guys are still enjoying this, and I don't know if it'll be coming to an end after I do part 7, or if there will be a few more parts, but I can tell you we are getting closer to the end of this extended story. I hope you guys will let me know how you've liked the extended stories so far, because if you do like them, then I certainly will keep doing them. As for now, I think I'll probably switch over to a few short ones after I've finished Unexpected Fates and work on the parts for another extended story. That way I have them lined up and ready to go instead of getting stuck when I am halfway through writing one part. So, as always, if you haven't, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!